Hi guys, Andrew here with headphones.com. Welcome to the Headphone Show. Today I'm going to do a first impressions video of the Aeon 2 Noire, which I just realized when you put it down, the logo is upside down, which is super fun. Hey, that works too. That's cool. In any case, I just got this in to evaluate, and so I'm going to give it a listen, let you guys know my initial thoughts, and then I'm going to spend some time with it and then do a full review of it. I know a lot of you guys are asking about how this compares against the Focal Celeste, so eventually I will have an answer for you, but in this video, that's not what we're going to talk about. It's just going to be my very first impressions, all right? So let's get going here. First of all, I love the DCA form factor case thing. This is clearly a portable headphone. Look at how small this is. So the headphones are in here, but first I'm going to let you know what else you get. I've taken it out of the box already. This is a certificate of authenticity in here. For anybody who doesn't have a picture frame of their degree hanging up behind them, you can frame this and then people will think that you have a degree because that's what it looks like. Then you also get a cleaning cloth, very nice. And then you get a bunch of tuning filters and inserts here. Now we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you know, I've actually owned an Aeon in the past. Not an Aeon 2, but I've owned one of the original Aeons, and one of the ways that you sort of change some of the treble frequencies is by using these tuning filters. So I will get to these in the full review, and I'll be doing measurements, and we'll show how they differ in measurements as well, so you guys get a sense of that. Now, that's all this stuff that you get, and then, of course, this is the cable here with the very unique style of connectors. I'm led to believe this isn't actually proprietary, but I'm not aware of any other headphones that use this style. So regardless, it seems to function well, but it might not be the easiest to find aftermarket cables, but you don't really need them because this cable I think is totally fine. Okay, let me take the headphones out of the carry pouch here. And so again, I'm just blown away by the compactness of the whole thing. I mean, it looks kind of silly when it's all folded up like this. It looks kind of like a grasshopper that's like about to jump. But then when you, make it jump, it unfolds to this properly, fully extended state. But the big thing here that is part of the namesake as well, this is black and not the candy cane red that I really was not a fan of with the original Aeon 2. And then the original Aeon was actually blue as well. Now, I think the black is an improvement. I like it, but come on, man, make it matte black. Come on, just make the whole thing matte black instead of glossy. That would be like perfect. I don't know. I'm sure there's people who like the flashy red. So this is just a subjective thing. But black is better. With these cable connectors, they do give you a red little ring on this side, so you know which one is red. So you know which one is red. So you know which one is right, and you know which one is left. Just like that. Just like, wow, perfect. All right, now these do slide, so you can adjust the headband. One thing to note about these, and this is just from experience owning an Aeon in the past, while the Nidinol thing does, bend and stuff, it doesn't, you can't really like stretch it out like you can with, the Sennheiser headphones and stuff like that, like the HD650. So the clamp force that it has is the clamp force that you get, even though there is a little bit of adjustability with the sides here. And then also it does stay in place reasonably well and it slides reasonably well. But if you do ever have any issues with that, you can just tighten the screw. Like if it loosens over time, you can just tighten the screw. And I've actually even replaced this headband with something else that was more comfortable up top for me on my old one. But yeah, let's give it a shot. Obviously, I'm wearing a hat. Let me actually just take my glasses off here because this is a closed back headphone. You don't want to be wearing glasses unless you have the really thin arms in the glasses. And these are clearly meant for fashion. This is a topping L30 that I'm plugging it into. Just turning it on. I'm going to go with high gain here because from my experience, these do take quite a bit of power to drive. I will be running this off of multiple different sources when I do my full testing. But the topping L30 can drive it. It's just the question is this driving it to its fullest potential? So I will be testing with a number of different sources, including an amp that I'm very excited to talk about in a little bit. But for the moment, topping L30. So I'm going to simulate some music for you guys. I'm not actually listening to this track that I'll be playing over top. So this is going to be my first impressions. Okay, so right away, the treble is definitely a little bit on the spicy side. A little bit on the spicy side. I imagine I will end up needing to try out one of these, and I will probably end up using one of them, or just EQing that. It sounds like it's maybe punctuated by a series of peaks, so it has a more of like a kind of like a sharp presentation to the treble. I don't want to say gritty, but it has a sort of sharpness. I think one of the nice things here is that while it does sound like it has a couple of peaks there in the lower treble, those don't throw off the balance for the rest of the treble. So they are a little bit overshadowed by some of the upper frequencies as well, and that lessens the effect of some of those peaks, I think. But definitely still a little bit on the sharp side. And that's actually kind of like the way it was on the original Aeon 2 as well. And then that's where the tuning filters come into play. And this is just for anybody wondering, there's no tuning filters in here right now. Okay, I'm going to keep listening. One quick note about the comfort here. I'm noticing, obviously I'm wearing a hat, so it's not perfect. But with the comfort, there is definitely an initial point of clamp force where it almost feels like it's too much. And I noticed this with the original Aeon 2 as well, that it was an improvement over the Aeon 1, the comfort actually, because the pads felt like softer somehow. And I think time will tell on this, because the clamp force on this is immediately noticeable for me. And I got a larger than average head. So if you have a smaller head, you won't have any issues with this, but this is something that I'm going to have to pay attention to for the full review. Of course, the rest of the comfort is fantastic there. It sounds like it has a decent amount of ear gain. It sounds like tonally appropriate for the mids as well. So that's good. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go back to listening. Okay, so for bass, the bass is tight, well controlled, but definitely also elevated. It unfortunately still has that same effect of somewhat lacking in macro dynamics. I'll have to do some more testing on this, because a lot of that also really depends on the track and whether or not the track fully tokens the sub bass frequencies, because a lot of tracks they don't. This one I think it does, but you don't always know, so you have to go through a list of tracks. But just off of this sort of first listen here, it sounds like it's trying to emphasize the bass to compensate for the lack of macro dynamics. And what do we mean by macro dynamics? The punch and slam quality. It gives you the perception of an elevated bass response, but it doesn't feel as punchy as other headphones that don't have the elevated bass response there. This is something that I'm going to be investigating, rest assured. Because I have to get to the bottom of this. And then I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to play around with the tuning filters, and we'll figure out whether or not it's any better. I'm gonna do a quick one right now. Let me just put these are the really stiff black ones. So I'm gonna try those. Yeah, one notch. Now, personally, I'm never a fan of front damping, because the consequence of this is that you lose detail when you do that. But what I'm curious is how much of that and whether or not the balance is worth it. So let's find out. I actually think this might be too much damping. Now the whole thing kind of is not as resolving sounding, and that may be a detail thing, it may be just a frequency response thing, or maybe it's the same thing. Again, we'll get to the bottom of it. But yeah, I'll need to play around a little bit more with this, and then I'll need to try the other filters, try more tracks, and try more sources. So just stay tuned for the full review, which will be coming out probably in the coming weeks. So yeah, until next time, thanks for watching.